Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of I Thought I Finally Quit This Game for Good. My name is Joseph, and after 2.5 years of not playing or even thinking about this game, I want to let you guys know that I am again fully addicted. For the few of you that may remember who I am, you might be wondering where I've been. Well, it's none of your business. But I want you to know that I definitely have not been spending hundreds of dollars on Magic the Gathering, and I definitely have not been spending hundreds of hours in World of Warcraft because I'm not a nerd. But even if those things were what I was doing for the last few years, every single minute of every single day, I bet I'd be super good at them, so it wouldn't even matter. Anyway, speaking of not being a nerd, I'm back playing RuneScape for now. I wouldn't get too used to it because if one thing hasn't changed in the last few years, it's the fact that my attention span is still incredibly short. But for now, I'm back in the never-ending cycle of constantly being addicted to this game. That being said, when this addiction hit this time, I really didn't want to spend the meager free time I had attempting to max on my main, and thought, what better way of killing the unhealthy virus that is old school RuneScape than to do my least favorite thing in game, early game quests, and mix it with the least favorite thing to do in real life, not dying. So I made a hardcore Ironman, and much like the content that I watch right before I cry myself to sleep every night, regular hardcore content just doesn't cut it anymore, so I'm putting a little bit of a twist on it. I'm going to make this hardcore Ironman a 13 defense pure. Now you may be wondering why 13 defense specifically, and I just thought it'd be a nice little challenge, something a little bit different to do, something that's different than just playing a main. And if you're wondering why I didn't make a 1 defense pure like the real Ultra Chads, I'm definitely not scared, but I thought 13 defense would just open the game up a little bit more, give me some access to some quality of life content like fairy rings, slayer helms, and I thought those things would just make the videos a little bit more entertaining. I will say that I'm not just planning on keeping this a 13 defense hardcore Ironman and just doing safe content with it. I do have some pretty ambitious goals, mainly the first big goal being Corrupted Gauntlet, which I think we'll get to by episode 3 of this series, assuming we make it that far. So at the very least, if you like me, if you don't like me, at least it'll give you really good motivation to keep watching because I'm probably going to die pretty early. So that's my account, that's the introduction. So let's get into this first episode where I'm just going to briefly go over, well, as briefly as I can, go over all the early game stuff I've done on this account so far. So getting started, since I'm a certified dumbass, I didn't really have a good plan going forward, so I decided to just get sweaty about it and looked up Osiris's guide about being an efficient Ironman and decided to follow this briefly until kind of around where Barrow's gloves would normally be attained, although I won't be getting them and there'll be some quests I'm skipping. I just figured it'd be a good way to get started. So the first thing I did was get a few quick fire making levels by setting fire to the top of Lumbridge Castle on multiple worlds for 15 fire making, and when the castle was properly toasted, I continued to get a few spare logs and made 1,000 arrow shafts for later on. Continuing on with my pillaging of Lumbridge, I procured some GP from the pockets of the generous town folks in order to afford a steel axe to support a local business because honestly, I'm a good guy and everyone's been talking about it. Everyone in Lumbridge knows it. I'm just a great all-around guy supporting local businesses. Ask anyone. Not that guy though. I then started a few quests, including Rune Mysteries, Restless Ghost, and then got my ankles broken by an imp on my way to Falador, where I started the Knight's Sword. I then teleported to Clan Worst to pick up 2 iron bars from the wilderness, because I'm a man, and I'm not scared of PKers or bears, as long as my friend, is there to save me. Unfortunately, he's very bad at laying his life down for me, and was nowhere to be seen as I got mauled by bears. But after barely making it out of the wilderness with my red crown and the enlarged ego that accompanies it being intact, I teleported to Castle Wars, picked up some swamp paste from Port Khazard, and then relived my childhood by helping a few drunk religious people have a party. They rewarded me with some woodcutting XP for my troubles, which I utilized to set fire to the entire surrounding forest on my way to 35 woodcutting. With the forest properly charred, it was time to pay homage to the hardcores who AFK'd far too early on their accounts by doing a bit of thieving. I got 20 thieving by thieving cakes in Ardoin, and then got 25 by thieving silk. If you mention anything about how I pronounce that city's name, I looked it up and that's supposedly correct, and I'm too stubborn to change the way I say it now, so I'm sorry. But with this feud acquired, I sent these pieces of shit sheep to a well-deserved early grave by incinerating them, and yeah, I'd do it again in an absolute heartbeat. Well, not the quest, but the burning of the sheep, 100%. Especially this red sheep. Fuck this guy in particular. I then heroically saved this child from menacing sea slugs to complete sea slug and get 24 fishing, because I'm just a good guy. We've been over this. Everybody knows it. I made a quick stop at the fishing shop to grab some feathers and some sardines, before selling my silk to a very forgetful silk trader, and then started dwarf cannon after almost getting two-pieced by this moss giant. And this is probably about the time you'll see my buddy Nate not following me around anymore. He made the account at the same time as me, and he just wasn't a good meat shield. I'm sorry. He stopped playing not because he just didn't want to make a new account. It was 100%. He just didn't feel like he was up to the task of saving my life when the situation presented itself. So after this first near-death experience, I made my way to Barbarian Assault to start the bar crawl and pick up some planks. I then stopped by Ludwig's house to grab some supplies for a hangover cure, as well as get 1,000 bronze arrowheads. I then witnessed the effects of a very real plague in Ardoin that's definitely not a racist government front. I don't know why you would even think that. This just seems so incredibly unlikely. Government officials are just supposed to be always so trustworthy and transparent and honest, so I don't know why you would think that. But after doing this quest, I teleported to Castle Wars to cut and burn some teak logs in order to get 50 fire making. Before moving on to Wintertodt, I stopped at Remington to do the bare minimum on my house in order to get the construction level, and I'm now realizing I didn't write down that level, so you'll probably see it on screen, and if not, that really sucks. I know you were really looking forward to knowing what exact construction level I got here. But moving on, I then went to everyone's favorite PvE experience, Wintertodt. The goal here was just to get some wood cutting levels, as well as get 12 magic logs, mainly the magic logs. This is the easiest place to get them, and just get some really good supplies along the way. Now, I knew this was going to be a bit of a grind, so I was thinking about just taking a little bit of a break here and maybe just releasing a really introductory video, but oh, what's that? Oh, I just did a little bit of a gamer move by shirking all of my responsibilities to spend too much of my already limited free time in order to spend about 20 hours at Wintertodt in the span of 1 to 2 days. Well, yeah, I guess I did. But I got 56 wood cutting, 82 fire making, 28 fletching because why fletch, and 26 construction. And now for the loot. I actually got really lucky with the loot from these Wintertodt crates, which is why I stopped here. I got 3 of the 4 Pyromancer pieces, a Tome of Fire, all the magic logs I'll need for all the quests I want to do, and around 150k GP. I stopped at this point because I was getting bored, but I honestly thought I'd have to go back and do a few more levels. But with the items I got, I honestly don't need to go back until I go to max the Ironman account after it, de-hardcores and I need something to do. Anyway, after passing the Wintertodt barrier and with step 1 of my plan done, I got the funk out of there and made my way to Lumbridge and picked up some supplies on my way to Gertrude to, against my better judgment, help her find her cat. Now, one thing you should know about me before moving forward is that I absolutely hate cats. I'm very allergic and they're all bastards. So I want you to know that I'm only helping Gertrude so I can have the gratification of trading these in for death runes. Don't get the wrong idea. I do not like cats, and I'm not doing this out of the goodness of my heart. I want that to be clear. I want us all to know where I'm coming from on this point. But now that I was in Varrock for basically the first time since I've made this account, I started doing some of the easy quests in the area, including Shield of Arav, Demon Slayer, Romeo and Juliet, as well as completing the basement museum for some quick Hunter and Slayer XP. Before retrieving Gertrude's Lost Devil, I depleted a good portion of my cash to pick up about 4,000 Fire Strike casts, and then I finally helped Gertrude with her cat problem and started investing in my future Death Rune stack. Since I was on the west side of Rock, I braved the wilderness in order to start the Abyss mini-quest, and then showed some higher level barbarians that I'm not scared of them, as long as there's a table separating us and their IQ remains about as high as their combat level. I got 13 magic and then stopped by Falador to grab some supplies before heading over to Taverley to complete the Witch's House and Druidic Ritual. With my newly acquired hit points, I went down to Port Sarim to complete a few quests, Witch's Potion as well as the Knight's Sword, and went over to the desert to stop a tourist slave trade. Well, come to think of it, I didn't actually stop it. I just rescued one person and then didn't mention this situation to anyone at all. But that sounds like someone else's problem, so I teleported the fishing trawler, and I'm sure that stuff will just work itself out. In Port Karzard, I picked up a few buckets of sand and soda ash for later, and then slaughtered some imps for some colored beads. I then got some quick combat levels by completing the fight arena and Tree Gnome Village, and then safe spotted some Zamrock warriors at ZMI for a rune scimitar, getting it after 46 kills, which is just under the 1 in 50 drop rate, and then wasted a good chunk of my runes fire striking moss giants above Artie for 42 magic, burying the big bones for 10 prayer. It was then quest time again, and I did Haziel Cult, the Dwarf Cannon, the Waterfall, and made my way to Zaya to get 15% Hosidius favor in order to immediately go behind their back, and I stole a bunch of their fruit for 42 thieving. I'm an ethical gamer, what can I say? And continuing on with the long laundry list of quests that accompany an early game account, I did Cook's Assistant, unlocked the Recipe for Disaster chest, did Sheep Shearer, Imp's Catcher, Rune Mysteries, Demon Slayer, Romeo and Juliet. I think I said these before, but I guess I'm now just completing them. I don't know, I'm just reading a script. Started the Abyss mini quest, and finally made my way to the Gnome Stronghold to do the Grand Tree, the quest in which I definitely didn't take a melee hit from the Black Demon. Anyway, moving on, I then did Murder Mystery, Fishing Contest, Doric's Quest, Pirate's Treasure, Black Knight's Fortress, Recruitment Drive, made my way to Castle Wars through the Clan Wars portal to do the Observatory quest, and I actually got lucky here because I didn't actually plan on being a 13 defense Ironman at this point, and I didn't get unlucky and get the Constellation that makes me get defense XP, because that would have ruined this whole plan that I came up with like a week later. Anyway, enough small talk, let's get back to the quest list. I then teleported to Lumbridge, did the Restless Ghost, started Lost Tribe, went to Varrock to finish the Abyss mini quest, and while I was there I did the Dig Site quest and started Dragon Slayer, which I'm never going to complete at this point. I then used Spirit Trees to finish Biohazard, and come to find out this very real plague affecting half of the city was actually just a racist government front. Who would have thought? That's so crazy. My whole worldview is just changing on a regular basis. I'm just gonna go back to not paying attention to politics. While I was in Artie, I did the Easy Diaries for Artie and then made my way to Karumja to do Jungle Potion and Shiloh Village. Now with all of those quests done, I made my way to Camelot to finish off Merlin, it's Crystal, and then started the Holy Grail, which thankfully I never completed. And then did Elemental Workshop 1, went to Falador, did Goblin Diplomacy, continued Lost Tribe, and then went to Lumbridge to finish the Lost Tribe, and then finally finished off this mind-numbing questing adventure with the Feud. And then I moved on to some totally not mind-numbing content by blackjacking my way to 50 Thieving. After 50 Thieving, I used some of my Soda Ash to get 32 crafting, and then started fishing. I started at Shiloh Village, getting 58 from trouts and salmon, and then after cooking the trout, I moved on to Barbarian Fishing, which I got 74 fishing at, although the real goal was to get 50 agility, which I used to get the rogue's outfit, and then bonked the fuck out of Menophites to get 80 thieving, which got me around 1.7 mil cash, which isn't enough for what I'm going to need long term, but I have a plan, and probably RSI, mostly RSI. Anyway, after thoroughly robbing the Menophite community, I wrapped up some quests in the desert, including the Golem, Shadow of the Storm, which took fucking forever because this demon is the tankiest mob in the game. It took me literally 5 minutes to flinch the final 12 hit points. Anyway, with that demon down, I got 27 ranged from the reward and then made my way to buy some runes. Now, since I didn't make enough money from thieving that I was supposed to according to the guide, I couldn't really afford doing it the safe way and spending my money at the runes at Ali Morrisane in Al Kharid, so I made my way to the Edgeville Lever, and now you may be thinking, what an absolute dumbass, why would you risk your account just to save a little bit of money? And you'd be right, but luckily I'm never punished for being dumb, so my 1 defense, 34 hit points, hardcore Ironman that's easily one-hittable in that combat bracket at level 50 Wilderness made my way to the Mage Arena Bank, where I spent about 1.4 mil on 6,000 nature runes, 300 laws, and a few cosmics. I used about 3,000 of these nature runes to superheat some iron ore to get 52 mining, 44 smithing, and 57 magic, and now with the boring stuff out of the way, I went back to questing. I fucking hate early game. Now I'm not going to continue to list off the quests that I did because it's boring for you and it's really boring for me, and I don't want to relive those moments. Just let's say that I got adamant gloves from Recipe for Disaster. I did the prerequisites and got the levels I needed in order to do, 8 out of 11 of the Recipe for Disaster steps. I've been playing this game for like 10 years and I still know absolutely nothing. But anyway, I got the first piece of gear that's actually my best in slot for what I'm actually going for with this count build. So that's cool. You know, it only took 1 episode to get 1 piece of best in slot armor, but that's where we're going to end this video. It's about 110 hours of playtime. A lot of it was AFK, and right now I'm just AFKing fishing while I work on this video and do a few things on my main. But we're going to pick up here in episode number 2, where the goal of that episode is going to be unlocking Corrupted Gauntlet. I want to go through, get the skill requirements and the quest requirements needed in order to finish Song of the Elves and get ready for the Corrupted Gauntlet. So by episode 3, you can see me killing myself in the red prison that is the Corrupted Gauntlet. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great time, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and will be along for the ride as well. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel so you can know the moment I release the video of when my hardcore Ironman dies, because that's probably going to be the peak of my career. If you got any suggestions on how I'm doing these videos, let me know. I may or may not actually listen to them because I have my own way that I want to make videos. Not a lot of kind of in-game live commentary. There will be some once we get to content that actually warrants it, but I like doing this narration style. So let me know what you think. If you like it, don't like it, I'll probably read your responses, but you know, feedback's always good. That being said, that is all I have for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the first video I've made in like 2.5 years, and hopefully I'll be back at least until this account dies. Hopefully past Corrupted Gauntlet. I'd love to make it past the Gauntlet and get onto Slayer, and then No Diary Zulrah, and then Raids, I guess. That's kind of where the plan stops. I stopped playing before TOB was really super accessible, so I don't have any TOB experience, but hey, it'd be fun to maybe learn on the hardcore. Maybe we'll learn on the main and then do it on the hardcore, who knows. But right now, I think the plan is to get items from Corrupted Gauntlet, mainly the sword and the bow if that ends up coming out, go do Slayer to get Trident, do No Diary Zulrah, then go on to Chambers of Xeric to get some items. That being said, that is all I have for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. I am Joseph, this is JosephsPlace, and I will see you next time.